Hey guys, Prangell Gaming here, welcome back to Talk the Wall. This is the 38th installment, and before we get right into your responses and questions you may have had, if you haven't seen any of the other 37 installments, then why not go check them out. There's going to be a link in the description of this video for the last Talk the Wall, or you could access the playlist by clicking the I button to catch up with everything you have missed. While you're down there in the comments section, why don't you put your score predictions for the matches against Rochdale and Swindon and add what you felt went right and wrong in those matches. Now do bear in mind I recorded this on a Sunday, so if anything becomes outdated or if any new news stories appear, then I'll cover them next week in the next Talk the Wall. On to your predictions against Bury, and one person actually got the scoreline right, so congratulations to the Veggie Tube for predicting the right scoreline of 0-0. The next closest was Joe Holloway, who thought Millwall would win 1-0, and then moving further away from the correct scoreline, 4 people thought that Millwall would win 2-0. Those being Harry CD, Riley Solo, Liam Gaming 2 and Janos. Riley added "Come on you Lions," while Liam Gaming 2 was wrong by saying Lee Gregory and Steve Morrison would score. He also added "Come on you Lions, Championship, here we come." Meh. The final scoreline to be predicted was Millwall to win 2-1, with Billy Gibson and Harry Greenway saying that they thought the scoreline would happen this way. Billy then added that Gregory and O'Brien would score, ending with "South London la la la, South London la la la." Last week I asked you guys a question, which was what player do you think deserves more of a chance to shine at Millwall? And 3 of you commented on this question, with those being Harry CD, Liam Gaming 2 and Riley Solo. And we're going to start with the 2 that said the same player, and that player was Harry Smith, as Liam and Riley said they expect him to get more time in a Millwall shirt, and to be fair, he does deserve more time in a Millwall shirt, but I think he needs to learn how to defend and score more goals before he actually goes ahead and gets that chance. As for Harry CD, he said, "I think Jamie Philpott and Alfie Pavey should get more of a chance to come on as subs. We can't rely on Smith as backup. We still have to remember it was only a few months ago he was playing in the Ryman League, and in his inexperience is starting to show. We need to nurture more young strikers." And with this one, I do feel that if 1 or 2 of them got a chance, that would be great. The only thing is that Pavey and Philpott, the only things I've heard of them this season is when they've been out on loan into non-league football, and I think they do deserve more game time. And obviously Harry Smith coming in has upset them getting their chances, so Harris has to have a real think about who he wants to keep around this club, because there's a lot of strikers that aren't going to be getting game time if he believes that Morrison should be playing every single game. This week's question is, what player gets too much game time and shouldn't be playing as much? Now, before I end this question, please go easy on Tony Craig. Yeah, he's the captain, so leave in the comments section who you want and the reason why, and I'll cover them next week as I do with every question. On to your comments, and the first person to comment this week was Liam Gaming 2, and as we always do, what we're going to do is we're going to read them out and then break them down bit by bit. So starting with the first comment, which was, do you think Millwall will win any decent trophies? And with this one, I guess it depends on what you mean by decent trophies, because chances are, if we stay in League One, we could win the Checker Trade Trophy. Now, I'm not saying that's a decent trophy, really it isn't, but in terms of decent trophies, which I believe you mean, which could be the league title or the FA Cup, I very much doubt we'd win those. Though I do see us having a chance in the EFL Cup. Obviously, it's not as big as the FA Cup or the league, but every cup really is important, and this cup, I think, it's just a bit more easier because every Football League team and Premier League side compete in this, and I reckon we could battle in it in the future, but I just don't think that we'd be able to win a league title or even win the FA Cup. I think it's just too much of an ask, especially in today's market of football. He then asks, who do you think should be a free kick taker? And with this one, I think there's 2 players that should take free kicks. They're both left-footed, and the players that I think should rotate between each other is Sean Williams and Shane Ferguson. I believe they both do similar duties already, but they have different ways of taking free kicks, and I don't think it matters really who takes them, because we need to score more of them, and it's not always the delivery that lets us down. Sometimes it's just not us being good enough from the set pieces, though Jake Cooper has really improved their chances highly, except from when he actually missed that header at the weekend. Liam's next question was, do you think Gregory will go to Sheffield United? Now, before I say anything, Harry CD added his findings to this question, and he said Sheffield United have reportedly lined up a £2 million bid for Gregors, which scares me because he's getting the chance of Championship footy for his boyhood club. If we don't go up, there's no way he'll stay. So my response to this straight up is no. I really don't think he'll go. And as I've said time after time, I don't think Gregory will go because it depends more on really whether we go up or not. But I still think even if we didn't, he probably would stay with us because even though he'd be returning to his hometown, the team where he played some of his youth years, Mill brought him to playing football in the Football League, and so I think it'd be hard for him to want to go. But that being said, I do think we're going to have a real problem if we stay in League One. It might be very hard to keep hold of some of our important players. I know for a fact that Fred probably is going to leave. I just really can't see him staying with us, and well, because some of these players, they have the quality to make it in the Championship and some even the Premier League, and I think that's what Fred's thinking in his contract thing at the moment. He just doesn't know whether he wants to stay with us for a couple more years or move on to somewhere where he could probably play his football. Liam then asked, do you think we need a new goalkeeper if we go up? And well, this depends on how our goalie situation changes, whether Archer and King will actually have a lot of games on between them where they're both rotated. As I said, I would really like that, or it depends on whether one leaves or one obviously stays. I just don't know. Really, I like the fact that we've got a lot of homegrown players. Harris likes to give King more game time, so hopefully he does. Archer obviously undisputed #1 at the moment, and I do think that we wouldn't need a new keeper because Harris likes younger homegrown players over buying players, and to be honest, Harry Gerling looks pretty good, so maybe put him into the equation. I just don't know. Do you think we'll go straight back down if we go up? Was Liam's next question, and my answer to this is yes. I do apologise for this, but I just think it would be my answer. I don't think that we have been that strong in the majority of our games. Now, hear me out before you start hating. When you're winning games by penalties or lucky 1-0s, yes, you're winning them, but you're scraping the bottom of the barrel, and if we're one of these top teams, which people are saying we are, and well, I do feel we're quite strong, but I don't think we've done as well as what people believe us to be doing. Yes, we're winning games, and I love that. I do really think that we've been decent in the games that we've done, but when you need to win games against teams like Bury and you draw a 0-0, it really can't help your case. And as I said, the penalties, winning them by penalties doesn't really help, and I think we've been lucky in some of the games because we just haven't really just outright smashed the team as much as what we need to be doing. If we're one of these top teams, we need to start scoring a lot more goals and concede quite a lot less. But I do feel if we start sorting this out, then I think we'll be fine next season. But I do expect us to struggle regardless of when we go up, because the Championship isn't an easy league. And be honest here, if you think we're going to walk into that Championship and then smash it all up in 2 years in a row and then somehow get promotion, I just can't see it happening. Liam's second to last comment was, do you think we will ever go 17 games unbeaten again? And this question's a lot harder to answer than you think. Obviously we can't go 17 unbeaten this season because we just don't have that many games left, but this record could be achieved again. I only though think it will be achieved if we're in League One, because I believe we will always struggle if we are to go up. Plus the teams in League One, they're not exactly too bad to play against, and well, if you look at the Championship as an example, I want to just highlight one team. The team that won the league last year, Wigan Athletic, they could get relegated back down to League One. They've currently sacked 2 managers and they sit 23rd, needing 7 points to go 21st in the league. It isn't looking so good for Wigan, and obviously they were the ones that won the league. I know this is a poor example because they're struggling, but it could well happen. You just don't know. You have to be careful when you go up. You have to make sure you got the right balance and all sorts of things. I think Harris will sort that out and have the right balance, but I don't know whether this season's particularly the best time to go up, but it just depends how we go about our next couple of games. Liam's final question was, do you think we are a good team to compete against teams like Chelsea and Man United? And no, my answer is simply no. We lost to Tottenham, and yes, we did have our main goalkeeper out and Morrison went off injured, but that is not an excuse. We were dominated. In my opinion, Tottenham are the best side in the Premier League, so really that says something, but it's because they use English talent and the majority of their stars have actually been grown over a couple of years. You got Dyer, Ali, Kane, those English players doing really well. And also, if you think about it, you've got two full-backs in Walker and Rose that are fantastic at the club. So I think that they're just better quality than Chelsea and Man United. And if you think about it now, if we're going to compete against teams like that, it's just not possible unless spirit and love of the game just somehow gets us through games like this. But commercial rights have really paved the way, the fact that we're not really ever going to get to the Premier League and not really going to be able to afford them into building a new stadium as we speak. Liam ended with 2 per super nil Harris. And then, no one likes us, no one likes us, no one likes us, we don't care, we are Millwall, super Millwall, we are Millwall from the dead. Meh. Harry CD was the next person to comment, and he said, I agree with you, I think Kane coming off for Eriksen was a blessing in disguise for Spurs. We wouldn't have lost by that margin if Eriksen hadn't come on, in my opinion, and Tom King did superbly, in my opinion. You have to consider the fact that he's only played a handful of games outside the Conference League, and he made some outstanding saves. However, I do think Archer would have played better had we played him if he wasn't injured. So with this comment, I agree with Harry due to the fact I think King did amazingly. I think the amount of games he played and the experience he had, I just felt that it was really good for him. Now, I do feel that last 2 goals were cruel on him. I actually think he could have done a lot better trying to save those, I really do, and it makes me feel upset, the fact that those 2 goals I feel could have been saved a bit better, but by then I think it was a lost cause. But as for the part with the comment that he said about Archer doing better, I actually don't think this would have been the case. I think we just outclassed, and it could have been just still the same scoreline. I mean, Archer probably would have made some more saves, but the goals probably still would have come, and I don't think we would have done that well. If Archer had saved some more, maybe there would have been more spirit in that Millwall team. I just don't think we ever had a foothold in that game, and that's really what upset me about this match. Harry's second and final comment was, am I the only person who wants the playoffs this season? I'm absolutely desperate for another playoff tie at the Den, which would undoubtedly be packed out like last season. Another trip to Wembley would be great. However, that being said, I don't think I could bear watching another League One football again next season. Midweek away games to Port Vale can only get so good. Laugh out loud. I would prefer if we were to get second, obviously. I mean, most Millwall fans would do. I don't think if we go into the lottery of the playoffs, I just don't think we'll do as well as last season. I mean, the sides that we're up against this season are a lot better than last season's, because I think we can easily get knocked out by Scunthorpe or even Fleetwood. I think maybe Bradford we could stand a chance against. Obviously, we've fallen out of the playoffs currently, but those are the sort of sides I think that we want to try and get Bradford and go to the final, but I just don't know whether we'd be able to do it or not. Now, before I end this comment, Billy Gibson said, I want the playoffs as well, but this time, seeing the mighty Wall win it. It's definitely a brilliant day out. Billy was the next person to comment by saying, I think that Jed is the most underrated player. He has it all. He saved us from that second goal against MK Dons. Meh. Jed is interesting because personally, I feel as if fans are still on the hype of last season. I just feel with Millwall, he hasn't really done anything yet. I mean, he's obviously played quite well, and I think he was the key player against, obviously, what we played yesterday against Bury. I think he done fantastically. If anyone deserved the goal, it's him. But in the 9 games he's played, he hasn't scored or assisted. But he did stop that thing against MK Dons, like you said. So I think he's a good fit for the team. But I don't know whether I'd say he's underrated, because I think Millwall fans do really love him. Millwall fan 1885 was the next person to comment. And he said, would you like Morrison to stay as a coach when he retires? And yes, of course I would. Because he's a Millwall legend, regardless of what people think of him. And I heard a few people boo him against Bury. I think that's a little bit uncalled for. I know that he kind of lost his head in that game, but he's a legend. He does well for the club usually. He's a huge influence on how the team works, and well, he leads the side despite not having the armband, which I think is great. So having him as a coach would be important for the club, and I think that is something that would already be in place for Neil to have Morrison finish his coaching badges and then stay at the club on as a coach, because Morrison could be very influential in this team. He also asked, do you think Millwall will have a similar FA Cup run next season? With this question, I very much doubt it, because we don't usually go this far in the FA Cup. In some cases, obviously I do feel that Harris did believe that we could get the cup run going that far, but it did take a lot away from our season. So I do feel that the league will very much be in our focus, regardless of where we are next season. Though maybe we might have another cup run like this, but I don't think it'll be straight away, because if you look at it, Millwall always do tend to somehow get on this fantastic run that took them as far as when we played up against Wigan at Wembley in the semi-finals. That was another great run, but obviously we need to not have them all the time, because sometimes that takes a lot out of our league performance. Callum Lochrain then added a song about Fred, which was "He's coming for you, he's coming for you, Fred Onyema, he's coming for you." It's Hardcore then responded to me asking him what his comment was about, and it was to do with Steve Morrison and me saying I believed we needed another experienced striker, as he said, I mean when you said we need an experienced striker. Harry Greenway then asked a very good question. He said, if you could sign one player from the Championship, who would it be? He said his player would be Chris Wood. Now, before I say anything, Callum Lochrain said that Dwight Gale from Newcastle would be his player. And can I just say, before I pick mine, these two players are very great picks, as they both have 20 goals each, and Wood is obviously the top goal scorer, with Gale being second in the Championship scoring charts. However, the player that I would pick is probably a little bit of a different one to what you guys would have expected. I would say Britt Osabalonga, as I really like him. He's only scored 9 goals this season, but if you see where obviously Nottingham Forest have struggled, I think they would be a great attacking player, and I would have maybe chose Chris Wood, but I don't like players coming back after leaving the club, so Britt Osabalonga would be a player that I really would like. Obviously, we can't afford him. Yeah, obviously. That's one of the things. These Championship players, we could never afford him. But he would be a nice player to bring to the club. He's just different. I think he's quite strong as well. So that would be something that we need in the striker. Janos was the next person to comment, and he said the gap between League One and the Premier League showed as they outclassed us. However, we outsang them. I loved every minute. Come on, you Lions. Moo. Also, that song is not racist if you compare it to Man United. The press just wanted something to write about. No one likes us. So with this one, I believe that they did outclass us. Obviously, I'm talking about Tottenham here. And I wonder, with the chance, were we actually saying them, or was it Spurs fans saying them? I just don't know. I'm not obviously saying that I know who said them, because I don't. I'm just saying, could it have been the Spurs fans who said them? Because a lot's being blown out of proportion. I know there's a lot of Twitter accounts that have said a lot worse about that player and this game. I just don't know. I really don't. I don't know what to think. It's just so weird. I've spoke to a couple of fans. They said they didn't really hear anything, but obviously it just is what it is. And if the people that did do this are cool, that'd be great. But I don't know whether anyone said it or not. So I'm hoping that if someone did say it, they do get caught. But if no managers heard it, then I just don't know. Can we get a singing with Prangell section in the podcast? Joe Holloway said, and can I just say no, please? I don't like my voice when I'm singing, but I love the fact that you can joke about this, Joe. The Veggie Tube was the last person to comment, and he sung meh, and then he added, if Harris gets us promoted, do you think he should get a statue at the Den? He is our top goal scorer as well. Now, before I say anything, Joe Holloway said maybe he should get us to the Premier League first, and I agree with Joe, but I also think that this would be a bad omen for us, because you cannot get a statue of a current player or manager, because this could affect the form of how they go into matches. Plus, a statue costs a lot of money. Can the club actually afford this? I very much doubt it. So maybe in the future, but yeah, just take into consideration it costs a lot of money, and we can't get it at the time that Harris is still with us, because sometimes that's just not the best, because obviously it then knows that they're iconic, they're legend. Obviously I'll know that anyway, but having a statue there, I think that's a bit over the top while the manager's there. Moving into the loan watch, and like always, we start with Greg Wells' Northampton side, who lost 2-1 to Bolton Wanderers. As for Greg, he was on the bench the entire game, and that's where he'd be finished, as Justin Edinburgh didn't use him. Moving down into League 2, and we see that Sid Nelson's Newport County lost 3-1 at home to Blackpool, with Sid getting 45 minutes before getting subbed off. At the time, the score was only 1-0 to Blackpool. As for Ford, though, in his Portsmouth side, he suffered the same fortune as Nelson did with his Newport County side, as Portsmouth lost 3-0 to Stevenage, who are currently the team just below them. All of the goals were scored in the first half, and it couldn't have helped that Portsmouth had Christian Barres sent off in the 75th minute. How did the 3 players out on loan to Braintree Town get on? So, if you didn't know, Chris Twaddock, who you obviously should know, and Karen Farrell were already out on loan to Braintree Town, but they were then joined by Christian Malibu this week. And as for the players, Malibu played and so did Twaddock. They both started and played the entire match, but Farrell remained on the bench for the entirety of the match. And I'm hoping that Malibu does really well, because he's someone that I do want to achieve real great things in a Millwall shirt. As for Alfie Pavey, he started on the bench for Dartford as they beat Truro City 5-3, though Pavey did come on in the 84th minute to make his debut for the club. On to Millwall's match, and as you'll know, we drew 0-0 with a couple of chances that Millwall probably should have scored, with Jake Cooper somehow missing the target with his header, and that was an open goal, so he probably should have put it away. The keeper Murphy then making a great save to deny Lee Gregory after Morrison headed it down to him in the box. Apart from that, we could have just said that Byron Webster may well have got a penalty as his shirt was being pulled in the area. And, well, to sum up this game, I would say it was frustrating because even though we put the ball in the back of the net, it was ruled offside. Now, I'm not going to lie, I haven't seen it again, so I will have another look at it and probably talk about it more in my analysis video. So at that time, if you want to go check my analysis video back out, because by then I would have already seen it and that goes up before this, so do have a look, see what I reckon about it in that video. The player of the game for me would be Jed Wallace. I've been critical of him in the past, but he was a player that just looked really hungry to score, and if I'm being honest, I feel that he was very unlucky not to have got the assist for when Morrison was ruled offside. But I feel Millwall had a poor game and very few players actually played well. One of those was Jed that played well, and I think he looks like he's really settling in now, which is great to see because obviously Fred may well leave the club. Last week I asked you a question which was, who would you take from a League One side to improve Millwall's current squad? And the only person to say their view was Millwall fan 1885, and he said, my choice of a League One player to sign would be Mark Beevers, as I can't see us keeping Cooper permanently because Reading will be pleased with the form he's in. And that is an interesting point of view though. I do doubt that Beevers would return to the Den just due to the fact the last time he left us and how he left us. The VeggieTube also added, I'd like to see Beevers back at the club. So my second question for this week is, if you were the Millwall manager, who would you renew the contracts of, or who would you want to have in your squad as the players that are currently here, and who would you let go or maybe sell on? Because I have some interesting views on this. I do want to talk about it next week, so hopefully you guys let me know. Obviously this comes after Harris is continuously stressing about the fact that Fred is not signing a new deal and Mill really wanted him to do so. Moving into the ups and downs for this week, and we're going to start off with League 2. And third place is Portsmouth, who have David Ford, who's obviously out on loan to them. They currently have 65 points, which is 4 more than the side that beat them 3-0 this weekend, Stevenage. There is a lot of work for Portsmouth to do if they are to obviously remain in the top 3 of the league, as they currently sit 7 points off of second place Plymouth. But obviously the chance is there. If they maintain their form and start winning some games, then as long as they keep winning, it's going to be hard for them to fall out of the top automatic spaces, with obviously Stevenage just very close to them at the moment. Second is, as mentioned a second ago, Plymouth Argyle. They're in a great place. I expect them to get promoted now. They have 72 points, and that is 6 off Doncaster Rovers. But with only 8 games to go, it looks like the 1-0 over Morecambe could have really helped them in the battle at the top of the league table. First, the Doncaster Rovers, who have now been there for some time, I'm going to be honest. They're boasting the top goal scorer of League 2, which is John Marquis, who now has 23 in the league. And after an easy 4-1 win over Leyton Orient, it looks like Doncaster have it pretty simple now. And if they beat Plymouth on Sunday, then obviously that definitely guarantees where they're going to finish. Moving into the Championship, Rotherham are where they've been for some time now, to be honest. They sit 24th in the league, still with 17 points after a 5-1 loss to Ian Holloway's QPR side. And it's safe to say, I doubt anyone would expect Rotherham to stay up now. They need 24 points out of a possible 24. And to achieve that, they obviously have to win every single game now. So if they lose to Fulham, it will then be confirmed that they've been relegated to League One. And they could be teaming up with us next season if we don't get promoted. 22nd are Wigan Athletic, who should start to be worried after a 2-0 loss to Aston Villa. It means they're now 7 points off of getting out of the relegation zone. And after seeing Bristol City beat Huddersfield 4-0, they're seeing the results they need to come up with. And with Newcastle coming up next week, it looks likely they're going to drop even more points and get in even more trouble, unless they pull off a great shock against one of the best teams in the league. Finally, Tony Mowbray's Blackburn side was so close to beating Preston North End, but after a late equaliser thanks to an Aidan McGeady goal, they still remain 21st. But they can take a very relaxing thought out the fact they're still remaining unbeaten under their manager. So there's a lot of hope that Tony Mowbray can keep them up, and obviously they only need 1 point, so it isn't impossible. But if they can win a couple games, then you just think they might just stay in this league. Now, into the final section of the podcast, that's the Millwall news. This week we have 3 stories ranging from Harris talking about Fred's contract and to finishing with Wallace saying he wants to be with Millwall now. So obviously this is where the first story starts, about where Neil Harris is saying that Millwall have tried absolutely everything to get Fred to sign, but it's down to him whether he signs or not. The second story comes from new Millwall coach Alan Barrett, who says he's joined after seeing Millwall, but his phone wouldn't stop ringing after he announced his retirement, but he thought Millwall was the best option once it arrived. The final story is that Jed Wallace wants to join Millwall after his loan spell has come to an end. Harris said that Steve Kavanagh is trying his very best to get this deal done, and it would be a great signing for us, obviously. The VeggieTube asked me before about this, and he said, do you think this signing would be good if he comes to us? And I feel it'll be good for us because he's a younger player and he has time to develop under Harris. So that is all we've got time for today. Do feel free to put your questions and opinions in the comment section, as next week I'll be covering them along with the score predictions for the Rochdale and Swindon game in the next Talk the Wall. And do let me know the bad points and good points of those matches if you go, and if you feel like letting me know. So like, comment, subscribe, and of course I will see you guys next week for that next Talk the Wall. But until then, goodbye.